Hey y'all, how's it going? So, first I want to quickly mention this. I just want to talk about this. So there's a loss here, but it never ticked lower, and the way that this happened to me was, and by the way, I don't think this is a good area. Even if it did trigger, I probably would have lost anyway, because in hindsight, it's a bad area overall to enter. But either way, it didn't trigger, and I accidentally filled myself because you see how, so the next bar, green bar here, opened here, and I accidentally placed the stop while it was all the way down there, and then it filled my stop order, and so then I was swept into the trade, and it hadn't even triggered yet, and so that was kind of annoying, and I was just hoping that it would trigger, and then it just went the other way, so I should have just closed, but I didn't close, so whatever, it's not a big deal. So, but yeah, there's a few things that's bad about this trade. I mainly took it. I wanted to take this because I barely missed this, and so I kind of screwed myself a little bit and wanted to take a trade because of another trade I missed. So, that was not good. But it's a horrible trade anyway. Even if it triggered, it would have been a terrible trade. Even if it triggered and won, it would have been a bad trade. It's still not a good trade. So basically, I just didn't see those range lows. I was focusing on this, and I kind of just neglected them. I didn't draw them in time, so that is not good. And it's funny because I've mentioned a lot how sometimes I don't draw the drawings when I should. That was kind of the case here because I knew that we were in a range. I knew it was a little break out of the range there, but I never really considered the lows for some reason. Sometimes I just avoid drawing things like it's a game, but I don't know why I do that. So, anyway, we have the overnight highs here, overnight lows, we're in this range, the overnight range, and we kind of started making this uptrend here, which I didn't think there was anything particularly great off of it. I feel like this right here could have been a good limit order trade, but it's just I didn't want to enter on something that big, but I do think it's high probability. It's the fourth bounce. You see once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. I know that it's multiple times here, but it's just one conglomerate, so I consider it once. And it's spiking through the EMA. You can make 1-to-1 to those highs, and that's exactly where it bounced. So I think it looks good. I kind of just was worried about entering because it felt so big, but it really wasn't. It's just 5 points, 5 1/4. So I probably should have just entered on that. But yeah, I still get scared of huge bars because it just feels so big, and y'all know what I mean. So we are in this uptrend, and this short I liked, even though we were in this uptrend. So the reason I like this short, so you see how we have this measured move, and then after we have that first leg, price tries to reach the second leg. So measured move is all the way up here. Price only could get to here, which ended up forming our high, and then it kind of just stayed around that area. It couldn't really touch that swing, and then after it finally breaks out of this resistance that formed, I kind of look at that as the second attempt to reach the measured move. And so it couldn't reach the measured move a second time, and then offers a reversal setup while trying to fade this smaller range and retesting this bigger range. So, it's the failure to reach the measured move is a big part of this here. And it's at a perfect area to reverse back down. Clearly there's resistance. I think it looks great. It's a great area. And basically I just wanted room to the lows of this channel here, so I knew I could go for more than 1-to-1. I couldn't go for 1-to-2 because I wanted to get out before this channel, but it's a pretty good looking area. You got a failed second entry. I mainly view this as a bigger picture lower high, and I know it did go above the EMA, and it actually had a pretty strong bar, but it did tick higher, and then it didn't quite trap because it didn't go to the stops, but it ticked higher and then just rushed lower. And I didn't mind that it was above the EMA because, like I said, it is retesting the overnight high, and we're fading the smaller range while clearly failing to reach a measured move. So I think it looks pretty good. And then this is basically just like a big picture failed second entry, because you can see here from here, you have first entry long, second entry long, failure, and then you can draw a trend line through it and it fits, and then it looks kind of congestive, but it's clear. You can see how this congestion is holding above that line, and then it finally like gets a breakout. And then if you draw it like this, you can see it's like you have a push higher, break, it makes a new high, and then even when you draw it as far as you can, you're still getting a good close out of it. And so it's a good looking reversal pattern, big picture reversal pattern. You just faded this range. It's a lower high in this range, basically. That's another thing it is. And I should have pushed it all the way down to the range. I was a little bit worried to do that. I always get scared going for more than 1 to 2. Because generally I like 1 to 2, whenever I can. But it gets risky pushing it past 1 to 2. So anyway, I probably should have just pushed it down to the range, because that is how price action works. It goes on retests and attempts. So anyway, we start forming this bigger trend. So I got it, and I was kind of just moving this along, but I didn't really find the best spot till eventually it fit here, and then it started holding again. But we had this shorter term trend. It's not that short term, but it's shorter than the bigger one, and we're in this downtrend here as well. And I didn't get anything in it because we weren't able to get back to the EMA for a while, so there was nothing to see there. And then it rushed above and then had trouble closing back below, and you finally got this closeout. So it's just a closeout with this one leg up right after bouncing off the overnight low. And so if it bounces off the overnight low, rushes above the EMA, I'm not going to take this first entry here. And I see that it's technically a second entry because you got first entry short, second entry short, and then lower high. But I just see it as this uptrend break and then barely one attempt higher for this little uptrend, which, if we were in a strong downtrend, a lot of times that'd be fine, but we just bounced off the overnight low, so I would be worried about another leg up. And so anyway, we push lower, we break out, we get a couple attempts to do a breakout pullback. See, we break out of the overnight low, we have first attempt, second attempt, and it doesn't even reach the EMA, it just plummets down. And then finally, you rush back above the EMA again with just one entry. I see first entry short, second entry short, that's really just one leg up. And then it closes above, and then it has trouble getting back below, and then you don't get any sort of good entry bar, so I don't see anything there. But then here, you get another bounce off this trend line. It does barely close out, but it closes back in. That's basically just a bounce. And then, like I said, at the time, when I was looking at it, I kind of left, and then left trading. I left the room, and then I came back and just kind of saw it, and I didn't draw anything, like I said. So I didn't draw it, but I knew that it was technically a breakout. I was kind of visualizing it from here, the range, the line. And so I knew it was a breakout. I knew it was right off of this line. But one thing I didn't really consider is it kind of just had, which, by the way, I didn't get this trade, but I wish I had taken it. We had this second entry short, but it's really just one big push off these lows, just one big push, and really after we come off the lows, you are expected to get to the highs, so I should have waited for 2 attempts higher, which ended up basically being this trade here, this winner. But it wasn't exactly because it was the lower high. But there's 2 clear legs attempting to reach the other side and then failing. So this one, I do think it's good. I wish I got in. I just kind of saw it late and I just hesitated, so I just didn't take it. But that's what ended up causing this loss, is missing this, and then I just got stopped out, but I made it back immediately, so all good. All right, let me put this back. All right, so whoops. All right, so yeah, I should have taken that. It's a bounce off of it, triple test, which I wasn't looking at it as a triple test, but at the time, but So anyway, let's move on, and we break out of the range here. Oh yeah, this trade. So yeah, I just didn't have the lows here, and so I just didn't notice it. I didn't draw it for some reason. And then when I saw this late and then didn't draw anything for it, I just, like, I knew the range was there. I didn't draw it, and then I ignored the lows. So whatever. We break out. Most breakouts fail. It's a breakout of this range. 2 clear legs here. I'll draw them with arrows to show easier. So we can kind of see those 2 legs attempting to reach the other side. Now we get this lower high. I didn't mind that it didn't close back below the EMA because we're in this, it's a pretty strong downtrend. We had a couple attempts at this point to reach the overnight low again, to retest it, do a breakout pullback. You could really view it as this first attempt here and then second attempt here with this 2-legged move. And so I felt pretty good. You know, we had a lower high, bearish bias, bearish trend, trying to fade this range with 2 legs up. I thought it looked pretty good. I think it's a pretty good trade to ride all the way down to the lows. And then I marked this area here because I missed this trade too. I literally was not in the room again. It's very annoying because this one I saw, but like I got back late and hesitated. This one I just was straight up not in the room. I had to leave for a minute. I was dealing with something, and then this happened, and it was already finished when I got back. So it's a lower high. It's basically confirming that, you know, it's the end of that 2-legged move up. So that end of that 2-legged move up, and then it rushes below and gives a lower high. And so a lot of times when you get 2 legs one direction, assuming that it's failing, it'll have 2 legs in the opposite direction. And so we can expect a second leg here. It doesn't have any STT blocking it. It is a lower high. And yeah, it's retesting this. You have room down to the lows for 1-to-1. I think it looks pretty good. If you got in, it would have scared you a bit because it would have come back pretty close to your stop. But it still looks like a good trade to me. So anyway. Yeah, I missed a couple there and got a loss, so whatever. We go into this downtrend. We have these highs, lows. We're in this downtrend. We get an overshoot, immediately leads to a break. Or I don't want to skip any of this stuff. We correct to the EMA. Here, we close above, and then we don't get below. We're clearly struggling to get below. We get that higher low right there, which is not good. It's just too bearish. And then you get this failed second entry, which you only get the entry when it's really closing low at the very low. You know, you did bounce off the lows here, and you do have 2 attempts to reach the other side. But I would be worried about entering so low. And they're not measured. They are relative in size, which is basically enough. But I would want them to be measured if I'm going to enter that low, and if it was measured, you wouldn't even be entering that low. I don't like entering that low into the move, right into the very low of the day. You know, I've been trying to get over that, but this is just, it's just going straight down and then it's closing so down. You don't want to short that low. It's, you know, you short high and buy low, and you don't want to, like, kind of like what I was doing here. That was another mistake. Like, that was part of why this lost. I was shorting directly into the low, into resistance. You know, there's more resistance here than there is here, but I was shorting into the low of the move, whereas here, the trade that won, I was entering on a deep pullback. And then this trade here is after a pullback. This trade right here is really, it's like, yeah, you can technically get that pullback, but you're entering at the very, you know, end of the start of that pullback. So, you know, I don't like doing that generally. But anyway, so we move on lower. These entries are kind of just the same thing, entering into the very low. I don't like it. And then overshoot leads to a break, a couple legs out, and we start going sideways because we get that low, fits there, fits off those highs, which, I mean, there's really only one swing there, but EMA is flat. We can tell that there's a range there. I don't see any good shorts in here. We rush below the EMA. I don't see anything in here. It's kind of just choppy, and there's really nothing. We have a downtrend break. When a downtrend gets a break, we can expect prices to make a new low. So what I'd want to see here is like a good failed second entry rushing below the EMA, which you just don't get here. You can see that we have a first entry long, second entry long failure, but it's kind of, well, it has a horrible signal bar, which isn't, when you're entering on a failure, the signal bar doesn't matter as much, but it's closing above the EMA. It's directly into these lows right here. it seems like you would have barely gotten out if he got in, and that's because it's not a good area to enter one. It's just not a very good trade. I would want to see it push below and then give a big enough pullback to where you'd actually have room to the trend line. So that's just not an ideal failed second entry. And then we have a break, another leg down. We have these two measured legs down. They're near measured. We break out of these lows. I don't particularly think that looks good because it is so bearish right now. I don't want to take that buy. I don't want to buy when it's that bearish. And we didn't make a new low yet. We do have these two measured legs, yes. You know, and some may say 2 attempts at a new low, but it's not off any kind of support, and we can't use the break. You can't use the breakout as the support necessarily because it's not like it's holding. It broke on through. It can keep going down, especially. We have this downtrend here, and it's blocking it right away. So it's really not that good. What would be good is getting a higher low in here, not a small higher low like that, but I mean like. If I were to draw this trend here, I would want to get a break of it, like a higher low, like right here, but obviously not right after a horribly bearish move. You know, just a higher low that breaks this channel, holds above the EMA, above the, you know, range. That would be better, but even then, you know, you're so bearish, it'd be best to avoid anything, but you certainly don't want to take anything off of no resistance. Or off of no support right here while it's so bearish. So anyway, yeah, I guess that's gonna do it for the video. That's really it. So yeah, I'll see y'all next time.